Hey everyone, today is going to be a little bit different. Today we're actually going to be doing a tier list of every single Godzilla film to date. So this is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to on the channel, but I hope you all enjoy. And I'd like to say, leave your comments below and tell me what you think. But honestly, that's such a gimmick these days. Most YouTubers don't even care. Anyways, before we go on to the list, I just want to say this is in honor of my good friend Jeff Malicki. We did several collabs together on some of the the Legendary Monsterverse series. Jeff unfortunately passed away last week. He lost his battle to cancer, and Jeff, this is for you, buddy. So to start this tier list off, we're going to go with 1954 Godzilla, or as it is known in Japan, Gojira. This film was directed by Ishiro Honda and starred one of the returning cast later on that we will see, Akira Takarada, and Haruo Nakajima as Godzilla and a reporter in the film. This film's themes carry heavily with nuclear holocaust, especially after the events of Lucky Dragon No. 5 and Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Godzilla himself was actually to be a metaphor for the bombings as well as his design. Director Ishiro Honda stated that, quote, "If Godzilla had been a dinosaur or some other animal, he would have been killed by just one cannonball. But if he were equal to an atomic bomb, we wouldn't know what to do. So I took the characteristics of an atomic bomb and applied them to Godzilla." Hey everyone, post-editing Lumpy here. Man, I tried starting this off with like, each Godzilla film will have some fun facts and whatnot in it, and I was like, that's gonna take too long. So I wrote out a little script for the first film, figured alright, fine. And then I was just like, you know what, I just want to get this tier list done. I don't want it to be a super long video either. There's 33 films, I don't want to go through all that. So I just stuck with my initial thoughts and placed them in the tier list. So I'm sorry, all this for this first film was scripted. I'm sorry I didn't continue that. One of these days I'll do that, but for now this is just blanket tier list. So ignore this cringe fest of me trying to read the script. Thank you. Due to budgetary constraints, Godzilla was supposed to be stop motion, but they decided instead to go with a suitmation, which remained up until the Final Wars movie. That being said, with everything listed, I have to put Gojira, or Godzilla, in the S tier. Right up there, big boy. Alright, on to number 2. The next film on the list is Godzilla Raids Again, or Gigantus the Fire Monster, as it is known in the United States. While this film is not as good as the original, in fact it's seen as one of the worst films in the series, Godzilla Raids Again has to be, without going into too much detail, Godzilla Raids Again, man, let's embed this, and we're going to put this at a solid D for now. That being said, it is still likely to change over the course of this video, but we're going to put this at a solid D rating. Overall, it does have the returning cast of the Dr. Imani, and that's really about it. It doesn't offer much. So Godzilla Raids Again, or Gigantus the Fire Monster, solid D. The next film on our list is 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla. The only returning cast to this film is the original suit actor for Godzilla, Haruo Nakajima. But here's a fun little tidbit. Haruo Nakajima and Soichi Hirose, who was the actor for King Kong, were told just to do their own stunts, and so they did. But it's got to be a solid C. It's still a fun film, and if you haven't seen it, please go see it in preparations for 2020's Godzilla vs. King Kong, or Godzilla vs. Kong as it's going to be known now. Overall, this film is really fun. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. You can get it for $5 at Barnes & Noble. It's just a wild romp. The miniature sets look pretty decent for the time, being 1962. Taking that, maybe you take about a year for production. All the effects took place in 1961. It's a great film. I highly recommend it. So yeah. The next film on our list is Godzilla vs. Mothra, or Mothra vs. Godzilla, not to be confused with Godzilla and Mothra, which came out in 1992. This film came out in 1964 and was the first film to actually feature two Toho monsters fighting against each other. Now, you might say, well, what about Godzilla Raids Again with Anguirus? No, these are two that had their own solo film that got to come together and fight. Think of it as like Captain America Civil War or something like that. Overall, this film is a lot of fun. It has a theme of big business being corrupt. It's fun. It's good. The miniature sets are a little iffy at times, but overall, it is a really good film. I highly recommend it, but personally, I got to give this one at least a solid B. It might go up to an A, though. So far, we have 4 films in the Showa era. We have Godzilla, Godzilla Raids Again, King Kong vs. Godzilla, and Mothra vs. Godzilla. The next film on our list is Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. This film features Mothra, Rodan, and Godzilla teaming up against the terrifying Ghidorah. During post-production, Ghidorah was actually supposed to be rainbowed, but was later changed to the color gold, which became a staple for his iconic look. Apart from its cheesiness, I really do believe that Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, has its own special place. Since it's the first time a cinematic universe got to come together, it deserves a little bit of a higher tier here. I'm actually going to put it in the B tier for now. We can change that later though. The next film in our list is Invasion of the Astro Monster. This one we see Godzilla and Rodan teaming up again under the control of some mysterious space aliens to rid their planet of the terrifying Ghidorah. This one though, apart from being cheesy, it's still fun, but there's a lot of flaws. It's a little bit slower to get through, and some of the aliens are a little goofy as well. We're going to put this in the C tier. On to the next film, my friends. The next film on our list is Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. While I've only seen this a handful of times, I do find it enjoyable, but overall, gonna put it in the D tier for now. Maybe upon further viewings, I might find this a little more enjoyable, but until then, it gets in the D tier. Next one. Oh god. Up next is Son of Godzilla. There's so much I could say about this film. I could tear it apart 6 ways to Sunday, but in all honesty, you know what, editor, just throw up the clip of Minya getting the shit kicked out of him. Hey, so I got to the part in the video while editing where I asked if I could have that footage of Minya getting the shit kicked out of him. I couldn't find any without having a torrent or whatever. So here's just a clip of Minya, and you can see exactly why I hate this foul creature. That being said, and everything that you have just witnessed, we have to put Godzilla and his cute little son in the E tier. Destroy all monsters. Not a whole lot to really say. It is a fun film. All the kaiju get to go out on a rampage towards the beginning or middle of the film, but then it kind of drags on a bit, and nothing really happens until the end where all of these fun kaiju get to team up against King Ghidorah. Overall though, it's a fun film. Good solid C in my opinion. I have a feeling that's where most of the Showa era is going to end up, is in this area here. Between B and D. But let's see with the next film. The next film is one I do not like whatsoever. It is the one where a little boy keeps getting bullied, so he has dreams that he goes to Monster Island to hang out with this little shithead here. But it turns out that this little tyke is getting bullied by this fella here, and so the kid learns a valuable lesson in bullies. That being said, this movie sucks a blanc. I don't like it. Guess where that's going? F tier. Bah. Godzilla vs. Ghidorah. Oh boy. This one's a fun one actually. I really enjoy this film. This one is heavily themed with the message of environmentalism as well as the impacts of pollution on everyday life. I like it. Ghidorah is a lot of fun and he's a really cool kaiju. But in the end, I'm a little creeped out by the disco party scene. I'm going to give this one a solid B. Godzilla vs. Gigan. This one's fun. I actually enjoy watching this one whenever I'm animating or doing 3D modeling or level design. The only problem I really have with it are the cockroach alien creatures, as well as Godzilla and Anguirus talking in some weird, garbled up way. But overall, I can't really fault it, but I know where it belongs. Belongs in the C tier. I'm sorry. Oh boy, Godzilla vs. Megalon. This one's actually still a lot of fun, as are a lot in the late Showa era. This one, though, incorporates the cult favorite Jet Jaguar. But apart from that, there's not much going on except for the return of Gigan, where they team up. Godzilla slides on his tail while teaming up with Jet Jaguar to defeat Megalon. I'm sorry, I have to put it in D tier. There we go. D tier, baby. Okay, this one's actually a lot of fun. I really love this film. This is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. It is a great film. This one was actually directed by Jun Fukuda. It's got some great themes. I really love the reveal of Mechagodzilla. It's got a nice little jazzy number to it. There are also several parts where this film is extremely violent. One of the scenes includes Mechagodzilla, who is currently disguised as Godzilla, coming up to Anguirus, who is Godzilla's friend, and almost snapping his jaw clean in half. Very bloody, very violent, but lots of fun. The end fight is also really incredible, especially with the visual effects for the time. I have to give this film, actually, you know what? This one is going up to A tier. Yeah. Alright, so we have one in A finally. There we go. On to the next. Up next is Terror of Mechagodzilla. It's a great follow-up to Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. And this is also the first film in which we see Titanosaurus, and probably one of the only films. But when I look at this film, I have a lot of fun with it. Godzilla has a great reveal, and it's still a lot of fun to watch now. So I'm going to give this one a solid B. Whee! Up next, we break out of the Showa era and gracefully go into the Heisei era with 1984 Godzilla, or 1985, as it is called in America. This is also known as The Return of Godzilla. It's a fun film. The American version stars Raymond Burr, who was in the American version of Godzilla. I like it. I'm not a huge fan of Godzilla's design, but we'll go through that in the next tier video. I genuinely enjoy the slow pacing of the build-up to Godzilla. Once Godzilla is actually in Japan, it is a ton of fun to watch, and the visual effects are great for the time period. Overall, I'm going to give 1984 Godzilla a solid A. There we go. Alright, now we go into the Heisei era, full steam. Godzilla vs. Biollante. This is honestly my all-time favorite film from the Heisei era. It is a great film to watch, especially multiple times. This wasn't directed by anybody really well known. In fact, the script was taken from a dentist. I kid you not. But this film's visual effects are amazing. And when you look at the behind the scenes shots, it's so cool to see how they did Biollante using strings. Biollante is one of my favorite kaiju as well. She doesn't get as much love as she deserves. But overall, I'm going to have to give this fine film an S ranking. It's still one of my favorites. Don't crucify me. Oh god. We can cut that out. Coming up next is Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. There's a lot I could say about this film. The special effects are great. King Ghidorah's design is fantastic. But it's really muddied with time travel. Yeah, I kid you not. There's time travel involved in this film. I'm honestly trying to think where I should put this one. I like it enough, but the time travel really, really bothers me. So I'm going to put it at a solid B. I think that's a fair assessment, honestly. Oh, come on. No. Stop. I think putting it at a B is quite fair. So, on to the next one. Godzilla vs. Mothra, or Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth, is a great film, and it actually has one of the most underappreciated kaiju in the series, Batra. I honestly really enjoy this film. I have it on a lot while I'm animating or doing work. It's a great one just to have on as background noise, but it's also visually very appealing. Godzilla's design is great as well, and with everything said here, I'm going to give this one a solid B. Just for now. We'll change some of this stuff up later. But for now, I think Godzilla and Mothra deserve a B. In the middle of the Heisei period, we have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Don't let this poster fool you. This is not what he looks like. None of this is what it looks like. But with that being said, I honestly do enjoy the film. I don't like the baby Godzilla. Anytime baby Godzilla is initiated or brought into the series, it's hard to kind of enjoy because there's not a lot of character to him. So, with that being said, I'm honestly thinking that this one deserves a solid B rating as well. No A for now. We'll go back and review and see where everything stands. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Oh boy. This one's tough for me, honestly. We have baby Godzilla here who got even cuter, even though it's becoming more of an adult. Space Godzilla does not have as much mobility here in his arms. That's limitations due to the suit design. Overall, it's alright. It's a good film if you're just dipping your toes into the Godzilla waters. But for diehard fans, not so much. I'm actually going to put it at a C, which is some might view very generous. So we have our C ratings here. So far, I'm liking where everything is. I'm actually going to move up Godzilla and Mothra up here. And then we're going to move these fine fellas over. So this is our first change up. And I have a feeling still a lot of people are just absolutely cringing. But there we go. So far, this is where we stand. Alright, to close off the Heisei era, we come up to Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, which takes place in 1995. Honestly, I enjoy this film a lot. Godzilla's suit design is amazing, Destoroyah is amazing, and the lead up to this fight is great. The special effects are beautiful. It's a touching way to send Godzilla off to his death. Why does it, every time I've edited this video, or I've done multiple takes, and this is the only image that does this. So I'm actually going to put this one for now at the S ranking because of how fond I am of this. There we are. Alright, now we're going to move on to something that should not take more than 2 seconds for me. Oh god. Alright, let's just get this over with. Just take this piece of shit down here, shove it over there, scale it down even more. Alright, Roland Emmerich, you deserve that, you piece of shit. Up next is Godzilla 2000, opening up the Millennium Era and closing the Heisei. This film is actually a lot of fun. I like the premise of it. Godzilla's a bit smaller in this film. He is now half the size he was in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. But then again, none of this flows with any continuity. So for a little bit of preface, the Showa era treats Godzilla 1954 as the start, and then closes. That's it. Then you have Godzilla 1984, which ignores all of the Showa era and goes straight into its own era, except for Godzilla 1954. Then we get into the Millennium series. The Millennium series has little to no continuity with each other even. They all treat Godzilla 1954 as the original and these as sequels, but none of the sequels line up with each other. Godzilla keeps some of the same designs, but that's really about it. So with that being said, I'm honestly going to say Godzilla 2000 is fun. It's got a nice premise, but it's in the C tier. I'm sorry to do that, but it's in the C tier. Up next is Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. I really enjoy this film. It's a lot of fun, as I've said about a lot of these Godzilla films, but this does not take any continuity with Godzilla 2000. This one, honestly, it's a solid, we'll put it at C for now. I have a feeling some of these are going to drop off a little bit. Actually, Godzilla vs. Gigan comes down to a D. This one goes here. This one goes here. That actually, no. Here, here, here. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. Oh, thank Christ we get to one of my favorites. GMK, or Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah. Giant monsters, all-out attack. Of course, I left out my boy Baragon here, but whatever. This film is actually a really great film for the socio-political times of Japan in the early 2000s. There's a good guy on Sci-Fi named G-Man who wrote a great article contrasting this film to Shin Godzilla. Go check him out too. I can link it in the description below if you'd like to read that. But this one's going up on a solid S tier. I really enjoy this film. I think it's a great piece. And it sticks with themes. Whoever just honked their horn can go suck a blanc. Alright, on to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. This is one of the only films in the Millennium period that actually has continuity with its sequel. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is a lot of fun. They take the original bones from the 1954 Godzilla and infuse it into this mech, which is piloted by 3 pilots. It's a cool concept until Godzilla goes rogue. The Godzilla in here, not this one, but this one here, kind of goes rogue. I like this one a lot. It's going to go in the B tier. The human characters aren't too cringy. They aren't too big of a pain in the ass. And the action's pretty good. So, let us go to the sequel. The sequel to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, Tokyo SOS, brings in our beautiful girl Mothra here. I'm actually going to put this one a little bit lower. This one's going to go in the C tier. This film is good. It's very heavy though. And the action when it does happen is a lot of fun. It's visually pleasing, but it doesn't get to go up here to B. Sorry. Actually, no. Yeah, that's okay. Hang on. I'm like second guessing myself already. Oh boy. Oh, this is one I'm going to get a lot of flack for. Godzilla Final Wars. This was in celebration of the franchise's 50th anniversary, and it brought almost every single Godzilla kaiju foe to the forefront for Godzilla to fight or kill off, including infamously the American 1998 version. That being said, I honestly find this film overly cheesy. I'm not a huge fan of it, but at the same time, Don Fry carries a lot of that weight in that film. So, D for Don. Coming out of the 10-year hiatus, which is also known as the dark times for kaiju fans, Godzilla 2014, America's second chance at creating a Godzilla film. I honestly really enjoy this film. I love it to death. I'm actually a very staunch defender of its slow pacing. I like that slow build up to that final battle, even if it's short and even if Godzilla doesn't have as much screen time. I like it still. Also, I'm a little bit biased because my wife and I saw this 2 days before our wedding. And with the sequel coming out in less than 3 weeks, as you can see on the date here on my computer, I'm excited. And this film has a lot of value to me. But I also have to look at it from a critical standpoint. And I'm going to put it in B for now. There's not much up there in that A tier list. It's a little bit harder to do A compared to S. Alright, on to the last two. Up next is Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016, 2 years following Godzilla. And this one I actually really do enjoy. It does have a slow build up in the middle and in the beginning, but once Godzilla comes on land in his fourth form here, it is a great spectacle. This is the first Godzilla film in which Godzilla is not portrayed by a suit actor. He is almost entirely CGI with some animatronic workings. That being said, it is a huge socio-political commentary on the government's handling of the Fukushima incident. Honestly, Shin Godzilla deserves the A tier for trying something new. Getting out of that old rut of suitmation. So guess what? A for Shin. Alright, on to the final one. Alright, so again, I'm treating this series, which was 3 films, as one. Because there's no time in between that would justify it being several films. It could have just been one long-ass Godzilla film. That being said, I'm not a fan. If I had to rank them individually, 1, 2, and 3, it would go 1, 3, and 2. 2 is a slog to get through. Godzilla's plant-based in this film, which is an odd choice, but I mean, it's alright. The characters are boring as shit. It's bad. This is actually going to go in the E tier. I can't watch it again. Now that I've seen it all, it's like I have no value in seeing that. Alright, so now we're going to go over our list and just take a look here. Of course, things are subject to change. Terror Mecha Godzilla, I want to keep there. So let's go from the beginning. I want to keep these here. These I like. I like these here. Alright, so far so good. Hedorah, maybe down one. I don't feel like this is justified, like Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 is justified. That being said, as a B. So honestly, no, I'll keep it up there for now. I like the special effects. Alright, we're done. So what I'll probably do is after King of the Monsters, come in and place it amongst the list of these films. Oh man. I spent all year making sure I've seen every single Godzilla film. It is a fun thing to do. If you have the time, go through and watch each one. It's a really cool little time capsule to go through. In the next video, we're actually going to be going through and ranking every single Godzilla suit and design. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, you guys are probably going to chastise me for this shit tier list I've made, but I figured why not. And again, this is in honor of Jeff Malicki. Brother, I miss you. I hope you're looking down just laughing at my poor editing and just the hard time I've had making this list. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video.